Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. Myself Parthopotim Bora from Department of Sociology, Dibrugarh University, Assam. This module that I am going to discuss is associated with neo-Marxist perspective, Jürgen Habermas, from the paper Contemporary Social Theory. So this module will be basically discussing the linguistic turn that take place in the social theory with the work of Habermas. So in that context, we will be basically discussing the various theories of Habermas, like that of theories on communication, discourse, then the deliberative democracy, as well as his theory on cosmopolitanism. In addition to this, we will be also discussing Habermas' contribution in the context of public sphere. That is one of his original as well as one of the earlier theory of Habermas in the social theory. As we know, Habermas was born in Germany, who was associated with the Frankfurt School of the critical theory. So being a part of the Frankfurt School, in fact he was among the second generation of the scholar of the Frankfurt School. He was associated with the neo-Marxist understanding of the society. So his work is basically interdisciplinary in its nature, which tried to combine both social, political, moral as well as legal field, while understanding the communication as well as the question of discourse theory, whereby he tried to see the meaning of the various aspects in our life. By focusing on the various work of Habermas, we will discuss some important concepts or the important ideas that were developed by Habermas. So we will be discussing theories of communicative action, then we will discuss the discourse theory, deliberative democracy, cosmopolitan world system, as well as we will also discuss public sphere. Now let us discuss the theory of communicative action. The theory of communicative action, that was one of the original contribution of Habermas, explained that in any communication, the consensus is arrived. So he basically talked about the question of shared knowledge or the shared value or the shared meaning, which are shared by everyone in the society. So while talking about the shared value, meaning, knowledge, etc., he was basically talking about intersubjective consensus that is achieved or that is acquired among the various individuals in the society. Habermas also give importance to the communication. On the other hand, the emphasis or the importance that the Habermas gave to the communication is because of the fact that every individual interact in order to do the coordinated action. So on the other hand, in order to do the coordinated action, there is a need among the individual to communicate or interact. So as a result, he gave importance to the communication in order to understand the intersubjective consensus, or how the individual arrived at intersubjective consensus in the coordinated action. He also talked about the idea of formal pragmatics. So by idea of formal pragmatics, Habermas basically talking about how we achieve the consensus of the shared meaning in any communication. So he said that it is basically the concept of formal pragmatics is used by Habermas to understood how in any communication we individual arrive the consensus of the shared meanings. While talking about the intersubjective consensus or while talking about the shared meaning in case of the importance that is given to the pragmatics, he also said that in any language, what we should focus not only on the speaker or what is spoken, but we also need to keep in mind the relation that exists between the speaker as well as to the listener. So in one of the important understanding, he tried to see the function of the speech by bringing the participant into the process, so that it is basically the intersubjective consensus that we need to keep in the focus while understanding the communication. So it is not only the speaker but also the listener is important to understand the process of intersubjective consensus and how the speech is able to bring the intersubjective consensus in the communication. Habermas also talk about the validity claim in the communication. He said that for a speech or the other form of communication to be achieved as a true, there is need to have three types of validity claim. These are the validity claim with reference to the truth, the validity claim with reference to the rightness, and third one is the validity claim with reference to the truthfulness. And he said that these three types of validity claims, that is the validity claim towards the rightfulness, then the second one is the truth, and third one is the truthfulness. These three types of validity claim are associated with the three kind of corresponding discourse. These are theoretical, moral, and the aesthetics. So the validity claim of the truth, rightness, and the truthfulness are associated with the three kind of discourse, that is theoretical, moral, and aesthetics. Habermas also talk about the concept of life world. Basically, he borrowed the idea of life world from the Edmund Husserl's concept, whereby he tried to see the concept of life world in our everyday world, where the human beings share the meaning or human beings share the activity. It consists of the sphere of family, culture, various voluntary organizations, as well as the media. On the other hand, he said that the sphere of economy and the state where the main form of interaction is instrumental action against the human agent. While understanding the contemporary society, Habermas basically talk about the colonization of the life world. So what by colonization of the life world Habermas means, the economy or the state or the economy have a tendency to encroach upon the life world. So it means that they can work in the shrinking of the life world that can have a negative influence over the life world in the long term. So we can say that if we summarize the Habermas' work of communicative action, we can say that Habermas' theory of communicative action is an attempt in the social theory to understand the role played by the language in order to have the intersubjective consensus in the life world. The next topic will be discussing the discourse theory. So Habermas' work on the discourse theory can be seen in his some important work like Moral Consciousness and the Communicative Action that was published in 1983, Justification and Application that was published in 1991. So in his discourse theory, Habermas made that agents have a moral conflict. So the individual have some moral conflict, and they are in that context of the moral conflict, they arrived as a consensus by means of rational discourse. So when there is a moral conflict or when there is a moral conflict among the individual, they arrived at the consensus by means of rational discourse. And this means that participants engage in the discourse voluntarily, and the result or the ultimate decision is arrived at reasonable or the impartial discourse. So when there is a conflict in the discourse, there will be a kind of the final decision will be arrived by means of impartial or through by means of reasonable discourse. On the other hand, Habermas' discourse theory was basically based on the post-conventional societies. So post-conventional societies are those modern societies in which human beings act only on the basis of norms that can be morally justified. So for Habermas, the post-conventional societies are those societies where human beings work on the basis of norms or on the basis of norms that are that can be justified morally. So these include various norms like norms of equality, the norms of justice, the norms of truth, etc., which can be justified morally. On the other hand, while talking about the discourse, Habermas talk about two kinds of discourse. One is moral discourse and second is ethical discourse. So Habermas places more emphasis on the moral discourse because it is a moral discourse where the validity claim is made with reference to the rightness, which is difficult to contradict. On the other hand, because in the moral discourse, the validity claim is made with reference to the rightness or what is right or wrong. So as a result, it is very difficult to contradict. So as a result, Habermas gave more importance to the moral discourse. In moral discourse, the end are seen to be desirable for all. Say for example, equality for all, which is a goal, or if we talk about the equality of all, is a kind of goal which is desired by every individual in the society. On the other hand, in case of ethical discourse, the end are chosen on the basis of dialogue between two or more individuals. So when the moral discourse is established because of the validity claim which is universal, on the other hand, the ethical discourse which is achieved on the basis of dialogue between the two or more individuals. That is another reason why the moral discourse is given preference by the Habermas. So we can say that the collective in case of the second part, that is the ethical discourse, is because it emphasizes on the norms or the good for the individual and the collective. On the other hand, the norms of rightness that is seen in case of moral discourse is universal in its nature. Next topic we will be discussing is the deliberative theory of democracy given by Habermas. So as we can see, Habermas' theory on democracy is basically the discourse theory of democracy. So whereby, as the name suggests itself, the discourse theory on democracy given by Habermas give lot of emphasis on the role of communication or the dialogue, or what is the role of communication or the dialogue that they play in the democracy. So in the deliberative democracy, he basically talk about two-track system of political discourse. One is the informal system of public opinion and another is the formal system of public opinion. That is the second, or the formal system basically work in the parliament or in the legislature. So Habermas says that in the deliberative democracy is a sphere where the formal sphere of parliament or legislature convert the public opinion or other discussion in the informal sphere into the policy that every person has to abide by. So there are some communication that are taking place in the informal system, and that in communication or the discussion that are taking place in the informal system are converted into the policy in the formal system of parliament or legislature. And what Habermas said, that when they are converted into the formal system, that need to be that need to be followed by the various people because of the law. While talking about deliberative democracy, Habermas basically gave three important ideas that are associated with deliberative democracy, or the three important characteristics of deliberative democracy. One is anyone can participate in the political sphere. So any individual who is one, they can participate in the political sphere. The second characteristic is that all the participants in the deliberative democracy have a equal status. And third characteristic that was given was that it is a voluntary nature of the dialogue. So on the one hand, it is a voluntary nature of the dialogue. On the other hand, it is the equal status that all the individuals have. And the third characteristic is that any individual can participate. And Habermas further said that rules that are followed by the people in case of communication are themselves product of discursive process, and as such, because it is the part of the or product of the discursive process, as a result, it is not imposed on anyone. Another important concept discussed by Habermas is the concept of cosmopolitan world system. So according to Habermas, because of globalization, it has resulted in the world is becoming a more kind of integrated system, whereby he said that in case of globalization, there is a colonization of the life world, whereby it is basically the economic sphere or the economic processes of the system that are influencing the life system in a large manner, and that was termed by the Habermas as colonization of the life world. And he said that in order to avoid the disintegration of life world because of the colonization of the life world, he suggested three-tier model of governance, and it is basically his idea of cosmopolitanism, whereby he tries to do a reconstruction of Immanuel Kant's idea of theory of cosmopolitan right to suit the reality of the global world order. So it was basically the reconstruction of Immanuel Kant's work in order that would suit to the global world order. Habermas said that government in the modern society, so the nature of government in the modern society is such that they can have or they do have the money and the power to preserve the democratic values and reaffirm their own legitimate authority. So what the government can do, they can use their money power as well as their administrative power in order to continue their legitimacy or in order to continue their democratic value. The Habermas understanding of the three-tier model of global is important in order to understand the present context of nation state. He basically talk about the three model of global governance. One is in the sphere of supranational, second is the transnational, and third is the sphere of nation state. And he argued that the third sphere, that is in the three-tier model, the third one, that is the nation state, is autonomous of the other two, that is supranational as well as transnational. According to Habermas, the main role of the supranational level of governance is to maintain peace as well as to maintain human right in the world. On the other hand, at the transnational level, the issue is more domestic in its nature. So domestic like economy, society, health, education, etc. And as I already mentioned, the third aspect, that is the national level, it basically talk about the autonomy that it can maintain in the global order. The last important topic that we are going to discuss is the public sphere. So the public sphere is the most important concept, that was one of the most important or the original concept developed by Habermas. So Habermas' idea of public and the private sphere are seen as two dichotomous, that is the mutually exclusive entities. So Habermas defined public sphere is one where the autonomous individual transcend the private sphere. On the other hand, and they come together to engage in the intersubjective discourse. So in the public discourse or in the public sphere, the autonomous individual will transcend the private sphere to come together to have a engagement or to have an intersubjective discourse. And he said that in the public sphere, individuals act in the cooperation with one another. So cooperative agent, that is a cooperation among the individual that can created in the public, which is a common interest that can go beyond the sphere of the private. Another important thing that Habermas talk about with reference to the public sphere is the question of rational communication among the individual member. So he said that the individual member in the public sphere are rational, that is, they are capable of having rational thought, which can be seen in the case of speech or in case of action, which are open to criticism within the public sphere. So that was one of the important characteristics of rational act, Habermas considered that public sphere is also emancipatory in its nature, by which it can empower the individual through their dialogue or the discourse, etc. Thus, we can see that Habermas, in his idea of public sphere, is basically the rational critical because it is composed of member engages in the kind of critical dialogue on the role of the state, as well as both authoritarian, the role of the state which can be both authoritarian or the democratic, and themselves. Thereby, it basically enable to have a action to arrive or it basically enable us to have a action that is rationally or motivated by the consensus. However, Habermas also talk about the criticism of public sphere because it may happen that the public sphere may have some inbuilt paradox. Say for example, Habermas talk about how the public sphere sometimes became class specific because it cannot transcend the interests of the class. Therefore, the emancipatory character of the public sphere is only applicable to the particular interests of the bourgeois rather than the universal interests of the all members of the society, because it cannot fulfill the interests of all members of the society, rather it fulfills the interests of the only particular class of the society. So as a result, public sphere can become class specific. That is an important criticism that was raised by Habermas against the public sphere. In this module, we basically discuss the work of Habermas as a neo-Marxist, or his critical work of Habermas as a part of how he was a critical because of his association with the Frankfurt School, with special emphasis to the important theories on communication, then the discourse theory, the deliberative democracy, cosmopolitan world system, and the public sphere. His work or his understanding help us or greatly shape the nature of communication or the nature of rationality that is taking place in the globalized order. On the other hand, the post-1960 or the 1970 period that is marked by the changes that are taking place in the global economic or the political order was analyzed by the Habermas in his new perspective. So his understanding of the Marx or his criticism of the Marx and his new understanding of communicative action provided us an alternative, or you can say as a reinterpretation of Marxian work. Say for example, while Marx talked about or Marx gave emphasis more on the work as said by Habermas, but Habermas gave more emphasis on the communication. On the other hand, while the Marx talked about the work in the communist society which does not have any distortion or which does not have any distortion in work. But on the other hand, Habermas basically talk about the communication in the kind of communication that he sees is a kind of communication without any distortion or without any force or without any hegemony or without any domination. So that was a kind of public sphere, the idea of public sphere that was Habermas talking of. So this understanding of the work of Habermas will also help you to know the theory of democracy or the global world system. Thank you.